Thank you all and giving me this privilege and honor to come and be part of the student orientation for year 2023 for our first year students at the Pacific Adventist University. And I want to make a special welcome to all the first year students. You have come from far and wide in our country, from the coastal regions to the mainland and up to the islands of Papua New Guinea. And you have come here together to learn, to be citizens of our country and contribute meaningfully to the development of our country. Let me first introduce myself, for those of you who do not know. Well, I'm from a small village called Somboy in Bewani sub-district in Bewani Butonone LNG, which is within the Vanimo Great River district. I come from, my village is about 55 kilometers away from the coast. I completed my education in Bewani in 1982, grade 6. Then I went to Vanimo High School then in 1983 to do my grade 7. It was the first high school we had in Vanimo, where I was a pioneer student. I graduated in 1986 and was selected to do grade 11 and 12 at Sugary National High School. So 87 and 88 I was in Sugary National High School. And straight from Sugary, there was a recruitment to get young Papua New Guineans to join the officer corps of the Papua New Guinea Defense Force. So I went and sat to do the recruiting, and fortunately I was selected to do officer cadet in Igam Barracks in Leh. So I was there for 6 months, from January 1989 to June 1989. Then myself with 5 others who were selected to further our military training in one of the prestigious military college in the Southern Hemisphere, which is the sister college to Sandhurst in the United Kingdom, the Royal Military College in Dantron, where I spent 2 years training, and I graduated as a young lieutenant. I came back to Papua New Guinea, to Papua New Defense Force, and then I was assigned to Golden River Barracks, where I was a platoon commander training the young Papua New Guineans to become soldiers in Papua New Guinea Defense Force. And I only spent about a year. That's in 1991. Then I was selected by the Australian Army to go and do linguistic studies in James Cook University in Townsville, Australia. And while I was there in 1992, I returned in early 1993 only to get a bad news that there was a massacre of 8 soldiers for the first time in Arawa during the Bougainville crisis in 1993. And unfortunately, one of my own people from Vanimo was one of the 8 who was massacred, and I was asked to bring the body home of late Gabriel Doshi from Waramo village in Vanimo, a coastal village. And when I brought the body home, and after I had buried the body, I came back and I was told to be deployed to Bougainville to fight with the Bougainville Revolutionary Army. So around April, May 1993, I was deployed as a young platoon commander to Bougainville. I didn't have any soldiers. They just put me on an aircraft. They said, you are going to Bougainville to fight in Bougainville. And that aircraft was only me flying to Bougainville. So I got my military gear. I had no guns on me. I went to Buka, landed in Buka. I was welcomed by the company 2IC of Charlie Company, 1st Battalion in Taroma. He said, oh, we have patrol boat waiting at Buka. So I got on a patrol boat. We went all the way to Wakunai, where the forward operating base was. And then when I landed in Wakunai, I was equipped with a carbine. It's a sort of version of M16A2, and I was given 6-line ammunition, the front line. And I was given my cargo and extra magazines, and they said, get on the landing craft, HMPNGS Samoa, to send to Arawa. And that was like 2 weeks after the massacre. So I went on the landing craft and went to Arawa, and as we were about to berth on the beach in Arawa, there was gunfire coming everywhere, and I was hiding under the deck. But yes, I went to Bougainville and fought war on Bougainville against our brothers of Bougainville during the Bougainville crisis. Some of the highlights that I want to point out in my life in military: I planned the capture of Panguna mine in 1994. I was a young officer. I was a lieutenant, and as I was giving my brief on how to capture Panguna, the intelligence brief and the operational brief, I was the young intelligence officer and the operations officer looking after the entire operation on Bougainville. So after I completed my brief, the Brigadier General then, who was the commander of the Papua New Guinea Defense Force, Brigadier General Bob Dademo, asked the commander of the 1st Battalion, General Singro, he was a lieutenant colonel then, the CEO of 1st Battalion. So where is the PIP? I want to promote this young man to captain. Anyway, I got promoted during the operations on Bougainville, and then we got deployed to Arawa, where we captured Arawa. And when we had captured Arawa for about 4 or 5 days, then we had an incident where a major was shot with these 2 buckmen, just outside at the edges of Panguna mine in a village called Morane, just overlooking Kuava village. And every soldier and every officer got scared of rescuing the bodies of the major and his 2 buckmen. General Singro tried to do a rescue operation on a chopper, and he got shot. He had to be flown to Arawa Field Hospital. No one wanted to go and rescue the bodies. It was going 72 hours. So I approached the second in command of the battalion. There were 2 majors there, and I was a young captain. I said, look, why don't you guys give me an opportunity to conduct a rescue operation? They said, we can, but you have to go and consult the commanding officer. So I got the chopper, went down from Panguna to Arawa Field Hospital, where Singro was in the hospital getting treated. I said, please, I just need your blessing to go and rescue the 3 bodies. And yes, he did. By 2 a.m. of that morning, I rescued the 2 bodies, came down to the Panguna copper mine. By 4:30, it was already broad daylight, and I had rescued 3 dead bodies with 120 soldiers. You see, the 120 soldiers were enough to bring the bodies down, but they were all scared to come out from where they were. But I did the rescue operation, and then I flew the bodies back to Arawa, and they were delivered to their families here in Port Moresby. And whilst in the army, I conducted 2 rescue missions along the border of Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, where the opium rebels, they captured some of the Indonesians and made them hostages. So I conducted 2 separate operations, one in 1995, where I rescued 2 students who were studying in Cendrawasih University in Jayapura. I rescued them and delivered them to Indonesian government. And the other one was in 1998. About 13 Indonesians were captured by opium rebels. I did another rescue mission and rescued the 13 hostages and delivered to the Indonesian government. The major rescue was the rescue of Papua New Guinea. When the then Prime Minister ordered that the Defense Force deploy the soldiers to go and wipe out our own people of Bougainville in 1997, when the orders came down to myself and now retired Colonel Walter Namah by the retired General Major General Shingrok to conduct an operation called Operation Rousing Quick, I was second in charge to remove the mercenaries from Papua New Guinea to go back to their country. I was given orders with the mercenaries. By then I was already in the PNG Defense Force Special Forces. So I was actually cross-trained from infantry to intelligence and then to Special Forces. So I was the cream of the force. Anyway, the orders came that we should get rid of the mercenaries. And the mercenaries were training with my soldiers in Vanimo in the ECP province. After 2 weeks, we were supposed to be deployed to Bougainville to go and wipe out the entire race of Bougainville. When the orders came to abort the mission, I said yes, we should, because it is not morally and ethically right to kill our own people. So you can read in the history, you can go to YouTube and read about Sandline Crisis. March 17, 1997, when I led the soldiers from the Special Forces unit with the rest of the Defense Force to surround the Parliament and call for the resignation of Sir Julius Chen as the Prime Minister, which we did. Sir Julius Chen resigned. I hijacked Fokker 100 from Wewak, put all the mercenaries. We captured them at about 5:30 a.m., marched them to the airport in Wewak, put them in the Fokker 100, which I hijacked, flew them to Port Moresby. I ordered 767. We landed on the other side of the airport where the Army Air Force Wing is, and we marched the mercenaries across the international airport to the International Departure Lounge where 767 was waiting. I ordered the Foreign Affairs and Immigrationists to immediately stamp their deportation on their passports. And it happened in less than 72 hours. After 72 hours, the mercenaries were on a plane back to Singapore to go back to South Africa. So those are some of the highlights of my career in military. I just want to give you as an inspiration. When I had already deported the mercenaries out of the country, I went back to Parliament. I went and asked the Prime Minister to come. I said, there is no military coup. There is no such thing as military coup. I only wanted you to resign to allow this process for me to complete my high-level operation to remove the mercenaries from this country. You see, at that time when I felt that our sovereignty and our sovereignty of the responsibilities of defense force was transferred to a foreign mercenary, I stood up, took up arms, and repelled the mercenaries from our country. And I stand today that I will oppose anything that is not good for the country. When I finished the operation, then I was arrested and charged for mutiny, for doing the honorable thing to the country. But they said I did the wrong thing. So I was charged for mutiny. I went to the military court. They asked me who gave orders. I said General Shingrok gave orders. But he must not be implicated in this. I said he gave orders. I had a moral conscience to say yes or no, but I decided to say yes to carry out his orders. I had the opportunity to reject his orders. So do not involve him in this. matter. So I took it upon myself. When they want to implicate my soldiers, I said they were just following my orders. If you want to jail, you jail me. I will go to jail for the love of my country. So I went to jail for 6.5 years, starting in 2000, and I was released on parole by the late great-grand chief, Sir Michael Thomas Sumari, on the 3rd of October 2003. When I came out, I was enlisted back into the Defense Force. I later resigned. I said, no, my career in the Defense Force is good as gone. So I decided to go home. But then from 2003 to 2005, my lawyers pursued with the Governor General to have me pardoned, because what I did with 2 of my soldiers or officers, we believe it was morally and ethically right for the country. So they put together the legal submissions. We managed to convince the Sumari government, the late great-grand chief, as the Prime Minister, convened cabinet, approved my pardon. It was given to the Governor General, and I was eventually pardoned on the 15th of September 2005, and I am a free man. I was fully pardoned. The moral of the story is this: never stop where you begin. I went to Sogeri with 100 kina in my pocket. In those days, there were only 4 national high schools: Sogeri, Pasa, Maira, and Kerala. I went with 2 pairs of clothes, 2 trousers, 2 shirts. But I said, I'm going to do my best. You know, you'll be future leaders of tomorrow. You will be faced with challenges in your life. You know, those who are doing your final year, you'll be graduating and you'll be going into different walks of life. Those who are in the 3rd and the 2nd year, you'll be aspiring to graduate as well when your time comes. And those who have just entered the university, thank God that you have done well. You have been selected to be part of this university, in Pacific Adventist University. You know, our forefathers built their vision on our foundation document, the National Constitution. When our founding father first signed the Constitution on the 15th of September, he envisioned Papua New Guinea to be God-fearing, prosperous, and free. That's what our forefathers envisioned our country to be. Today we are now 48 years. In 5 months' time, we are going to be 48 years as a country. 2 years before eating 50 years. We are a country that is rich with natural resources. Never seen in any country in the world. Where you see pockets of resources in other parts of the world, Papua New Guinea has every resource you can find. What is lacking in this country is leadership. Leadership, and I mean good leadership. You see, last week I debated on the floor of Parliament. I am in government. I have spent 12 years in the opposition, and I said enough. I decided to join government. I was not invited by Prime Minister James Marape to be in government. I invited myself to be in government. And Excellency, I told him that if there is any policy or legislation that is not good for the country, I will stand up to fight for the country. Last week I said that we must not surrender our sovereign rights to any foreign entity. Before I go on to my formal speech for this afternoon, I wish for us to pause for a minute to pay tribute to one of our former prime ministers, late Sir Namah, a distinguished former prime minister and elder statesman of our country who was passed on yesterday. He was quiet. He listened. He submitted his opinions to others for their opinion and went by the wishes of the majority. He was a systems and process man. He followed the system and he followed the processes of government. He was a party man. He was very loyal to Pangu Party and tended to all respect the wishes and dictates of the majority. He valued the opinions of others and submitted his own opinions to the majority of his peers to judge before he made his decisions. He might not have not agreed to those decisions because majority was making the decisions for him. But they were the wishes of the majority, and that is what he respected the best and the most. These are the attributes of leadership that sometimes many of us fall far short of attaining to it. And these are character traits of leadership that we must value and respect in a democracy like Papua New Guinea. What is democracy without the opinions and values of the majority of our people? But there is a big difference and a big flaw in this that I want to alert all of us seated in this forum as future leaders of our country. In this country at independence, and even today, as we are about to clock 48 years on the 16th of September, the majority remain on the periphery of national life. Most are illiterate still in our country. Most are not engaged in the formal economy in our country. Most of our people live a rural and basic subsistence life. They might not be fully aware of all the underlying facts with regards to the modern socio-economic realities facing our country today. In such a situation, when you submit your wishes to the majority of their opinion, such as when you wish to have the people elect a prime minister, you have to extremely be careful. Be very careful. Because the majority opinion might not necessarily be well informed or necessarily be correct. This means that the leader of today has a far greater responsibility to exercise care and restraint when making decisions for the good of the majority of our people in the country. Less scrupulous leaders can take advantage of our people's ignorance to push through laws, policies, and programs that benefit only a small minority or themselves at the expense of the people of our country. This is a situation that I have come to discover as it's very real in Papua New Guinea today. Sitting from opposition for the last 12 years, I have seen governments come and go. We now question the responsibility of government. Which brings me to this other matter. The matter of transparent, accountable, and collective government. I have spent 12 years in the opposition and watched many governments come and go. The good years are when a prime minister and his cabinet collectively respond to the socio-economic conditions of the country positively. In times of good prices, the government brings down supplementary budgets to distribute extra revenue and reprioritize for the good of our country. It is when the government borrows too much and spends too much on recurrent expenditure and not on economic projects under public investment programs that we have runaway budgets, runaway budget deficits, runaway debt, and runaway debt to GDP ratio. That is what we are experiencing today. I hold no reservations to say this. Our country is 48 years as of 16th of September. It's going to be 48 years as of 16th of September this year. Many members of parliament in today's parliament are older than the country, including myself, of course, having been born before the birth of our country. Many of you are not. You can see yourself as future leaders after the leaders who are in parliament today. Death, therefore, is going to be a constant visitor to parliament going forward if the parliamentarians do not give focus to the people and start to enrich themselves away from their mandated responsibility. I want to see a parliament that must draft policies and programs pertaining to the wills and probate, to the retirement and pensions and old age. Those things will become important on our aging public service and for our people. Our government must draft policies and programs that will grow the economy of our country and that will invest in the education of our future leaders of this country. What is the role of a member of parliament? The people are to judge us as current members of parliament in future. They must decide whether or not we have performed our jobs to the people's expectation. So what is the job of the member of parliament then? Is it to distribute money? Is it to build roads and bridges and jetties and wharves? Or schools and hospitals? Or is it to pay school fees for our children and coffin boxes for our loved ones who have passed on? That has been what we have been concerned with for the many, many years. we have lost focus on what our forefathers envisioned, that our country should be God-fearing, prosperous, and free. We must define what really is our job as members of parliament, because we are decision makers, and stick to our jobs. We cannot run around doing everybody's job. After we have decided what our job as parliamentarians are, then we must necessarily focus on what is the job of the government. I am talking members of parliament and the government because we are the ones who will decide the destiny of our country. Otherwise, you are wasting your time coming to school. Tomorrow when you graduate, there is no jobs for you. We must get to a member of parliament, and he must be schooled in such a way that he should know what his roles and responsibilities are as a member of parliament. And as government, we must know what do we have for our people. What then is the job of the government? Is it to take up equity in the major resources projects in the country? Is it to run government-owned state enterprises? Or is it to levy taxes and collect them? What is the job of the government? I think, personally, as the leader in this country, we have confused ourselves far bit as to the job of the member of parliament and the job of the government in the discharge of our duties to our people and our country. We think we are businessmen when we, quite obviously, we do not have the training for business. Most of the members of parliament think that. They think that because, they think that by not going against a policy or a legislation on the floor of parliament, they will not get this IP and peace IP. I think otherwise. The pressures of the electorate would fail on all business concerns anyway for any member of parliament who thinks that he is a businessman. Our confusion as to what the job of the member of parliament is and the job of a government is has translated to corrupt practices, to inefficient governance, and unproductive and costly operation of a government. When we find the role of the government and stick to it, much of our problems will evaporate naturally. Papua New Guinea is a small country, but very rich in natural resources. Resources in Pogera, going out across to Ella, where our brothers from Ella believe in Tigira Laitapo, all the way to Frida in West Pacific Province, to Lear in New Ireland. We have so many gold mines. Now we are going to operate 2 LNG projects. But where are we as a country? With so much already extracted, but we are yet so rich in natural resources, but physically poor. We must be people focused. I believe if all parliamentarians, all members of the executive government, all the public servants, all the CEOs of state-owned enterprises, if they put Papua New Guinea and its people first, we would have been a first world country already in the first 20 to 30 years of our life as a country. As leaders, we must be people-focused. How are we doing that? Is anybody in here know the exact population of our country? Does the Prime Minister knows the exact population of the country? Does the Planning Minister knows the exact population of the country? Does Belden Namah knows the exact population of the country? My answer is big fat no. Are we just watching the population growth? Are we watching the population grow and watching their movements? Do we know how many people are there in this country? Because you cannot design a development plan without properly ascertaining the correct population of our country. Do we know by statistics how many people in this country are literate and how many people are illiterate? Do we know how many hospitals are functioning and how many hospitals are not functioning? How many schools are operating and how many schools are not operating? How many teachers are actually are real teachers and how many fake teachers? How many doctors and nurses who have real qualifications and how many foreign doctors and nurses who have come into this country with fake certificates and fake qualifications? What is lacking in this country is proper statistics. Every government in the world measure its development statistics through their population. Papua New Guinea has not done a national census in decades. How can we all plan to advance your country? We are operating on a guesswork. A very terrible position to be in when you operate on a guesswork. In military, I cannot go into an enemy territory without getting proper intelligence, sending my soldiers out to do reconnaissance and find out how many guns my enemy is holding in that camp, how many of them are in that camp, before I launch my attack into the enemy position. We cannot run a country on a guesswork. We must know how many people. Otherwise, we will be spending too much money in Vanimo Green when the population is small. When we should be directing that money into another district where there's more population. If we base our budget on population, trust me, our country will prosper. And everyone in this country will have fair and equal distribution of our wealth. I am a security and intelligence man, trained, highly trained by the Australians, Americans, and the New Zealanders. I must talk about the security of our nation. We must be very cautious and conscious that these are times of heightened security threats on the domestic and the international fronts. If we cannot deal with law and order issue in this country, forget talking about development in our country. Just forget it. The government must come up with an operational plan as to how to address the law and order situation in the country. Without addressing that, tomorrow you put up a hospital, the tribes will have their tribal law, they will burn it down. You look for money to build it up again. Or like in Liga, former member of parliament decided that he gets an excavator and built 6 kilometers deep, 600 meters, 6 meters deep trench on a sealed road because he did not like the way the election was conducted. These are reality. It's fact. So we must address the security issue in our country. I would propose a way to address the security issue of this country is every citizen who graduates from grade 12, we must now look at instituting in our country national service. Every Papua New Guinean who graduate from grade 12 must go straight into military training for 2 years compulsory. I want to introduce a school of national service in our country, just like in Israel and in Singapore. When we do that, we will change the mentality of our people. What is wrong in our country is about mentality. That is why in my opening statement, I said about we must be responsible for our thoughts, our words, and our actions. We must now start to institute School of National Service. Get 4 national high schools. Sogeri, Pasa, Mayura, and Karabat, and convert them into a national service school where we train our young Papua New Guineans for 2 years so they become patriotic and nationalist. When they come, their mindset will be changed. Then you can see a better tomorrow. We must now look at the great 10s and the great 12s who have dropped out. Why don't we just open up one gold mine? Just to look after the police, the military, and the CIS. That mine will fund these 3 disciplining institutions. Get all those grade 10s and grade 12s who are doing nothing, even university graduates, to go into officer cadet training. And we build our military to be in proportion with the population. We build our police that will be readily available in response to serving our people. The geopolitics, political interests, economic interests, terrorism, and multinational crimes have already reached our borders, while successionist threats protecting our extensive sea and land borders are already here. We need to look at the natural and emergencies and the health emergencies in our country. How do we address the tribal and ethnic classes? I believe I have a solution. And that solution is getting our people, our young people, by creating national service and recruiting our young men and women to build our forces. So we are seen as a sovereign nation. Our security apparatus at present are too fragmented and not cohesive. Our national intelligence organization is dead. When some tourists were doing their studies in Mount Bosavi and they got captured, we didn't know how to respond. But we had to submit to their demands, a bad precedent we have set in our country. I am not afraid to utter those words as a responsible leader of our country. Finally, I must speak on the economy of our country. Where have all the money gone? Year in, year out, budget in, budget out. We have been passing billions and billions of kilo budgets. There are no physical transformation of those monies. In rural Wabanamanda, in rural Kanda, or in Minyame, and going down to the coastal areas. Where have the billions from Bolivar Copper Mine gone? The billions from Mishima Mine, from Octedi, from Pugera, from Lille, from our oil in Kutubu, Angore, Mananda, and Jua, and all the gas fields. Where are all those monies? We should have more universities. We should have more medical faculties. We should have more teachers' colleges and nursing colleges. We should be now looking at increasing the pay of our teachers, of our doctors and nurses, and giving them better accommodation so they can best serve their country. Tomorrow when you graduate, there are no jobs out there. I would have thought that a responsible government would get the money from the extractive industry and plow it into the renewable sector. We should be now looking at reviving the rundown coffee plantations in Jiwaka and in Goro, in Eastern Islands and in Western Islands. We should be now looking at funding the rundown plantation, coconut plantations in East New Britain Province, in West New Britain Province, in New Ireland, in Bougainville, and putting money into cocoa plantations in Belden, pumping money into cocoa plantations in East Sepik and into vanilla plantations. We do not need to waste money by dribs and drabs. We need to make impact on the money that we have. We need to seal roads into coffee plantations, seal roads into cocoa plantations, into copra plantations, so that they will deliver the goods to the next port. What we have been doing is borrowing money and spending it on a recurrent budget. We have not invested. Country is like running a business. When you borrow money from World Bank or IMF, or a soft loan from Australia or Japan, you must be able to reinvest that money so that it will have return on your investment. You borrow with the aim to repay, and you must put that money into a sector that will grow the economy so you can repay your loan. I am really worried about our country, the state of our economy, seriously. 2 Fridays ago, on the 24th of March, I was involved in the grievances debate about our loan from IMF. 918 million US dollar, equivalent to 3.25 billion kina. I said the management of our economy and the planning of our economy is our sovereign responsibility and our sovereign right. When we surrender those sovereign rights to IMF or to the World Bank or to the body of foreign conglomerates who are giving us money, we are surrendering those rights. Just like it was done in 1997, when our sovereign responsibility as the Public Defense Force was vested on the mercenary. Myself with a few others, we stood up, and with all the soldiers and the public leaders who supported us on that day, March 17, 1997, to say no to deploying Bougainville to deploying mercenaries to Bougainville. We believe that our sovereign responsibility of defense force was surrendered to the mercenaries. I had to act because I believe it was morally and ethically wrong. When IMF comes with the structural adjustment programs and imposed on us as a country, our hands and legs will be tied. We would have surrendered our sovereign rights. We must fight terrorism. We must fight multinational crimes. Drugs trafficking is already in our country. We are already producing it in our country. The news didn't say that we were bringing in drugs from Australia. The news said we were bringing drugs out of Papua New Guinea. Or whichever way. If it's coming from Australia, it's already here. If it's going out from Papua New Guinea, it's already here. But our intelligence and our security apparatus is not there. So why did I say, what is the responsibility of a member of parliament? Why did I say, what is the responsibility of the government? Because I wanted you to know, as future leaders, what a member of parliament should do, what the government should do. If we are not careful as a country, we will become another Sri Lanka. If we are not careful as a country, we will become another Venezuela. We do not need to borrow. If we had used the monies that we have borrowed in earlier years and invested in the renewable sector, Papua New Guinea would be thriving. There will be no rural-urban migration. There will be no urban drift. Port Moresby is no longer a city. Port Moresby is a village. Port Moresby has become a tribal field, tribal fighting field. Same as Belden. The once peaceful places in our country like Keynote and East New Britain and Vanimo, people are killing each other like there is no sanity. Do you blame the people who are coming to Port Moresby to look for jobs? No. You have to blame the government for not creating employment. Like our president for UPNG has said, Luther Kissing, we should by now be doing downstream processing. I said in Parliament last week, we have 30% take in mining sector. Why don't we take our aggregate of 30% and we refine the gold ourselves? Why do we have to invite a Tukina company? And I make it now. This is the first time I'm speaking on a public forum outside of Parliament. And I've already made my position clear. In 2020 and on the 24th of March this year, that if that bill comes into Parliament, I will stand up to vote against it even if I'm in government. is a sovereign asset. It's a legal tender. We cannot trade it and part the ownership with foreigners. No country in the world does it. We must never allow a foreign Tukina company to come and mint our gold and build a gold bullion and own the gold police to look after the security of our country. As long as I am a member for Vanimo Green and I'm on the floor of Parliament, I will fight vigorously to ensure that it doesn't happen. I will lobby with my fellow members of Parliament to stop any bill that promotes foreign company minting our gold and refining our gold and building a gold police in our country. We must protect our natural resources. We must do the things that will promote national unity, that will promote creating employment for our future generation. We must be able to get money also from the extractive industry and invest in a sovereign wealth fund. Today, we hear of billions of kina, but we cannot see the physical translation of it on the ground. Now, I thank you all for the time that you have given me. I want to thank the president of Pacific Adventist University, MOMASE students, Leroy Yamalone. I want to thank the president of the University of Papua New Guinea for coming all the way here to make your time and also to have a speech, Luther kissing. You need brand new leadership. We will be gone, but we need young leaders to take it from here going forward. But while I am still alive and young and vibrant, I will live to fight for my motherland and to protect the resources of our country and fight for the livelihood of our people of Papua New Guinea. Thank you.
Again, let us convey our gratitude.